Right, everybody, I'm at Phanteks, and you know me, I'm an air cooling guy. I don't want water cooling typically touching my system, especially a custom loop, because in a lot of cases there's just so much to think of. But Phanteks, they're doing custom water cooling loops completely differently. But before I get into that, what I wanted to do is I wanted to thank our sponsors for the show. That would be Phanteks, Thermaltake, Antec, and the government of Taiwan. Without their support, none of this coverage would have been possible. So let me explain to you a little bit about their approach here, and that is to create a kit to simplify custom water cooling from top to bottom. The kit includes everything you could potentially need to set up a custom loop. That would mean either hard tubing or soft tubing, or a combination of hard tubing and soft tubing within the kit. Bending tools, you get cutters, you get even the sandpaper necessary to sand down those tubes. But in this case, because it comes as part of a kit, everything fits together. And when I talk about fits together, that's where something really interesting happens. So what they've done is they've taken some inspiration from both the regular plumbing market and the irrigation system market in order to create a very unique way in the water cooling space to connect all of the tubing to the fittings on the radiator, for example. What we have here is the fittings that they have designed. And as you can see, that there's a couple of O-rings inside and some teeth. So in order to put this all together, instead of some sort of complicated process, all it is a push to connect. And it's completely locked in, and there's a watertight seal that's been created. In order to get this off, in case you, I don't know, screwed something up, or if you want to redo one of the bends in your tubing, all you have to do is push down, disconnect. That's basically it. So it's the easiest thing and the easiest way possible to create a custom loop out of this kit. Now, in order to offer people everything that they possibly need, you get the radiator either in white or black, and that white radiator is paired with chrome fittings. The black radiator is paired with black fittings. You also get D30 fans for that radiator. Not only that, you've got a CPU block that is compatible with all of the current generation sockets, and you have a pump reservoir combo. And for when it comes to actually filling the loop, well, they even give you your little handy dandy bottle and power supply jumper. So it's like a one-stop shop for a custom loop. The other thing that you have to take into account, there's also going to be a soft tubing kit for $3.99. But the soft tubing kit does not come with any fans. And just 3 D30s are going to put you back 90 bucks. Mm-hmm. So why in the world wouldn't you just buy the more expensive kit? It's maybe $10 more expensive when you factor fans into the equation. Yeah. You can try your hand at soft tubing. When you get really good at it, right? You go with the hard tubing. So over here, Phanteks has built the system with one of the hard tubing kits. So this is actually the 360 millimeter D30 kit in white. You can see those chrome fittings, everything else. But something that I didn't really talk about before is the fact that they do give you a complete mounting system for that reservoir and pump combo, so you can mount it to a standard 120 millimeter fan mount. But something else we really do need to talk about is what can control all of these fans, all of this RGB lighting. We've seen so many companies try it in the past, and Phanteks is trying it too. Okay, so something else that Phanteks is introducing is a follow-on to what we have found to be one of the best 120 millimeter RGB fans on the market. That is the M25. So this is the M25 G2, and there's a bunch of changes. So first of all, you get a very, very clean mounting system, or a system that hides all of the cables. No, it is not the same system that is used on the D30. That's quite expensive, but you still do get the covers for the holes. Unfortunately, a lot of the emphasis on this generation of M25 has been put on just cleaning up the overall presentation and allowing for a little bit better looking RGB. So what you're going to see here is the RGB is a lot more consistent throughout the fan, and you get that infinity mirror. And here's Eber. You might hear him in the background. He's sniffling. He's just getting over a cold. But if you hear that is a wild Eber. Dimitri is literally behind here, looking very disapproving right now. He's like, I'm hungry. He's literally on Uber Eats right now on his phone. The other thing that I need to mention is you might not be too happy about this, and I wasn't either, but there's a silver lining. So none, and I mean none, of the specifications for these fans and the performance statistics have changed from the previous generation. There's also now a reverse version like they have on the D30s. But the price is that silver lining. So individual fans of the 120 millimeter version or the 140 millimeter version are $11 each. And a triple pack, again, it doesn't matter if it's 140 or 120, is $30. $30? $30. That's $10 less than the previous generation. So there's no added cost like we're seeing with everything else on the market these days. No, what Phanteks is doing here is, yes, they have a custom 6-pin connector that connects to a hub, but they're also including these fans with a breakout connector that allows you to run standard PWM to your motherboard and a 5-volt RGB. Phanteks doesn't know if they want to sell this hub separately, but it will be included in a bunch of cases like the G400N that Dimitri talked about in his video. But this hub is actually, it's pretty interesting because not only does it allow you to run off of PCIe power, there's also a USB port there so it can pick up motherboard information, but you can run standard fans in here. The only issue, there's a 4-pin PWM header, is it runs JST for the RGB instead of a standard 5-volt. Now, JST is something that some vendors use, but not every single one, and they're not planning to include an adapter with this. I hope they change their mind because JST is just not something that's standardized across the industry. So all of this feeds into their Nextlink software. And look, I have been critical of most softwares out there because they're a complete mess. They try to do too much. They end up consuming way too many resources. So from a software perspective, Nextlink is very much a breath of fresh air, not because it looks completely different, but because it is so simple. So it gives you fan control and it gives you lighting control. That's where it really comes into its own. Again, completely streamlined versus a lot of the other crap out there. All you have to do is tell it what color you want. So if I want a blue in solid, I send it to the hub down here and boom, everything is in blue. If I want individual sets of fans to be a little bit different, so here right now it's getting the lighting from port 1. I can just go into the Phanteks software, select the second set of fans as, I don't know, red, and boom, send it to the hub. And because of the fact that you can rename these to the location. So freaking easy compared, especially to iCUE. You don't have to complicate RGB software all that much. It even allows you to do your motherboard ARGB input or through Windows dynamic lighting. The one thing that I asked them to include here is very much simply a slider for the color so you can fine tune your RGB color. What it doesn't have either is a history, simply because right now it has very, very simple colors. I mean, there's basically everything here, right? There's breathing, there's wave, it's all there. Okay, so just to wrap up here at Phanteks, you've seen the water cooling, which I'm relatively excited about. It's still maybe a little bit beyond me. You've seen the software, you've seen some other things, but I also had some pretty hard questions for them about things that you've seen in our previous videos from Computex, from CES, that just we haven't seen them yet. So the first one of those is the T30 140. Where the hell is this thing? Why is it not on the market? We saw it last year. Well, you know what? It turns out that because of the tolerances involved here versus the D30, because the D30 140 is already on the market, this thing is excessively hard to produce in large volumes. So what ends up happening here is they have delayed it and delayed it. It should be coming out at some point this year. They've tried to do different bearings in order to stabilize the fins. Everything has been tried. They think that they finally nailed this down, so you should see that T30 140 sometime later this year. Anyways, at least now we know that these are still being worked on. We should see them at some point in the future, even potentially the air coolers into North America. So anyways, I'm Mike with Hardware Canucks. I want to thank you guys for watching these videos from Computex, and I'll definitely see you in the next one.